Welcome to ESPN's Rivalry Week, presented by Wendy's. You're watching the ACC on ESPN. It's a sensational doubleheader tonight, and it begins here in central New York at the Carrier Dome. The number 18 Louisville Cardinals soar into town to face the well-rested Syracuse Orange. And later tonight, 9 Eastern, one of the marquee games of the college basketball season, North Carolina and Duke, round 1 at Cameron Indoor Stadium. The Cardinals and the Orange separated by just a half game in the ACC. It's Duke, Virginia, Carolina, Florida State, and Louisville locked even in 4th place, and Syracuse sits at 6th. We're so glad you joined us here tonight to get this basketball night started. Mike Cousins and Jordan Cornette, Notre Dame's all-time leading shot blocker and elbow thrower apparently as well.
It's going to be physical.
Jordan, Louisville, Syracuse, what's at stake tonight?
Well, Louisville's trying to continue to build confidence, right? Put that Duke, whatever you want to call it, in the rearview mirror. Well, for Syracuse, this is huge. And Syracuse, yes, they're in the tournament right now, according to Lenardi. They have 8 conference wins. So this team's sitting good, right? Well, not quite because of what's left. It's a brutal stretch for Syracuse. This is one of those games before you have Duke, before Carolina and Virginia. You want to get this one. As wild as it sounds, this is one of the most favorable matchups left on the schedule for Syracuse. They can play themselves out of the tournament with what remains. You want to win this one at home.
Jim Boeheim has been coaching the Syracuse Orange since Apple became a corporation in 1976. Chris Mack, believe it or not, his first visit to the Carrier Dome. It's interesting to see a first-time visitor walk into this venue for the first time. First place they look isn't down at the floor and whose signature is there, Jim Boeheim, but up at the ceiling. It's such an expansive place. So he's got his team in here. 18-8, 9-4 in the league. Syracuse 17-8, 8-4 in conference play. Tonight starts for them a stretch of 4 top 20 opponents in 5 games, and it's the Orange in the home white that win the opening tip. Jordan, a week of rest for the Orange. They last played last Wednesday against NC State, a game where their top 3 scorers fell about 30 points shy of their combined average. A week off, good or not so much?
Interesting dichotomy there because of how poorly they looked in that last matchup. They're going to be fired up, but there's going to be some rust having that much time off. Basketball players, a creature of habit. Let's see how they come out of the gates here.
Kickball, whistle on the far side, blown by Bert Smith. He's joined tonight in the striped triumvirate by Roger Ayers and A.J. Desai.
Tell you, Mike, you asked me, and that's a great question. I would almost, the basketball player in me, would rather play 3 games in a week than have a week off at this point in the season.
Here's War, the leading scorer for the Cardinals, going into the lane against Brissett, and he misses it. Offensive rebound for Sutton, and Wara, the wide open look from 3. He's going to make that a good portion of the time, around and out. They're looking to get Hughes going. Here's Battle with the ball. Hughes has dropped off, shooting under 30% his last 6. And Battle front rims it after a 7-point performance last Wednesday against the Wolfpack.
Got to get to that mid-post area. Those traps, they will be there.
The length of the zone proves troublesome for the Cardinals. And here comes SU the other way.
Exactly what Syracuse wants to do out of the gate. Generate some turnovers to kickstart that offense.
Brissett, just a 27% three-point shooter, gives the weary legs a rest for those in attendance tonight at the Carrier Dome with the Orange on the board first.
It's where Louisville's vulnerable. You look at the collapse versus Duke. Turnovers got them. Versus Clemson, not taking care of the basketball is how Clemson got back into it. Syracuse going to look to pursue traps and see if Louisville's figured it out.
Williams underneath, snuck behind the defense. They forgot about him to get the first 2 for the Cardinals. A lot of what we saw today during practice, Jordan, was what Louisville was trying to do against the zone. Overload it to one side, make Syracuse make choices, although it's easier against air than it is against the length of the defense.
What you always have to do, it has to be omnipresent. You got to have an aggressive nature offensively, be in attack mode, put pressure on that matchup zone. You get complacent, it can hurt you.
Travel caught on Battle, and it's back to Louisville.
It'll be interesting in this mid-post. It screams Jordan Wara as a 3-level scorer to operate in that mid-range and be a facilitator. Let's see if they try to establish him early in the offense.
They'll use him there at the free throw line. They'll use Sutton as well. Two guys who are capable of scoring from just about anywhere.
Very patient Syracuse offense out of the gates.
And Hughes tries the three. Brissett trying to soar. He's called for the over the back. And that's the first personal on the sophomore from Ontario.
It's a Louisville defense. It's a pack line approach, which means they're going to take away driving lanes, eliminate the pursuit of gaps, and see if you can beat them with contested jumpers. Syracuse is a team that doesn't shoot a great percentage from the perimeter, but does thrive off the three-point and perimeter shot. It's going to be a battle of wills throughout the night, something to pay attention to.
It's a team largely devoid of a dominant post scorer. Williams, the 5 on the floor right now for Louisville, and when they go further onto their bench, they get a lot better in the post offensively with Stephen Enoch, the transfer from UConn.
Too tentative. Got to drive that thing. Exactly what Wara's doing right there.
Wara does, bothered by the size of Chukwu, and the whistle blows anyhow underneath the basket on the Syracuse big man.
Chukwu at 7'2". His arms can touch the roof when he extends. Let's see. Yeah, that right arm was bearing down on the back of Wara. The 30-plus thousand here don't like it, but you got to agree with the officials.
Wara, the native of Buffalo, and he grew up a huge Syracuse basketball fan. And of course, being from Buffalo, one of the guys that he idolized as a youngster was Johnny Flynn, who spent a couple notable seasons here on the Syracuse Hill. But he said once he went to Louisville, all that gear had to go by the wayside and he couldn't wear it anymore. His mom, Amy, a graduate of nearby West Genesee High School. So far, for just about every catch the Orange has had, a Louisville defender has been there step for step, especially for tenacious defender. Sutton got caught with his hands down in the lane, and he's called for the personal.
This is rare. You're not going to see Syracuse hit their dive guy, Chukwu, like that. He's rarely going to be a receiver for a scoring option as a dive guy. Sutton needs to be aware that the big fella is not comfortable operating like that. Beat him to the spot. That's a charge waiting to happen. A step too late, and an opportunity for points at the free throw line.
They'd love to get more scoring out of him. A 59% free throw shooter. 100% on that trip. Scored 10 against Pittsburgh back at the beginning of the month. And since that game, in 3 games, has combined for 3 points and 8 boards.
Yeah, Chukwu, that's just not what he gives you, is an offensive threat to dump it down, slow down the speed of the game, and get you 2. He's a guy who protects the rim, needs to rebound, and be that defender with his length.
Wara passed it right into the hands of Elijah Hughes. The transfer from East Carolina leads the break, sees a gap into the lane, and sends it back for Chukwu, who wasn't waiting for it. And Howard's called for the reach-in foul.
Terrible decision.
5-4 Syracuse in the early going on its home court. A daunting February for Louisville. 5 top 25 teams go back to the 9th against Florida State. A lead evaporated against Duke, one for the record books as they gave up the 23-point lead. And then in their last game Saturday against Clemson, near disaster again. Jordan Wara on an inbounds pass at the end of the game turns it over, but then salvation comes as he emerges from the baseline, rejects it, and John Newman's try at the buzzer fell short as Clemson nearly came away with a road win at the Yum Center. As we talked to the Louisville staff today, Dino Gaudio, our former colleague, made the good point. A lot of guys would not do what Jordan Wara did. You make the mistake, the jaw hits the floor, and you become a bystander rather than jumping in and saving the game.
But most important for Louisville is they were able to win that game against a tournament caliber team in Clemson. So they've exorcised the demons. Now you got to get back into rhythm. That Duke game's got to be put so far in the rear view. You got to get back to playing sound basketball. And decisions like that are what's plagued them. 23 turnovers versus Florida State, 17 versus Duke, and costly ones down the stretch versus Clemson. You got to right that ship. This team has to be better with the basketball, and Cunningham, as the floor general, needs to take control there.
Five on the floor look a little bit different now for both sides, as Syracuse brings in freshman three-point shooter Buddy Boeheim, and Steven Enoch comes onto the floor for the first time, the post player for Louisville.
Brissett at 6'8" down low. That's your play. Look at that defense swarm.
But it kicks out for Boeheim, top of the key, three, just off. They trust him to take that shot anytime.
It's great offense. High IQ play from Brissett to kick out to the shooter, and Boeheim got to have it.
If it was a different opponent today, Jordan, you might expect to see perhaps earlier pressure against Florida State, or against Louisville, rather, because you saw how much it bothered them. But that's just not something that the Orange does. And they did it earlier this year. They pressed against Florida State. Jim Boeheim said, look, we had to do it. We were down in the game, but it's not something we're going to do all that often. But it would be interesting to see, given that it's bothered them as of late.
Yeah, it's a legend on the sidelines, and like you said, he's going to do what he does, stay within the identity. What they are doing is these are aggressive traps within that matchup zone on the other side to generate some poor decision-making from Louisville, something that's plagued them. And that is kickstarting the Syracuse offense. They're going to need more of that. But when you watch that Syracuse offense with this length, how they extend out, it's problematic for Louisville.
Battle gives it up with one on the shot clock. Howard didn't realize how little time was left. It's back to Louisville. This season, NCAA coaches and Infinity are taking a timeout to fight cancer with Infinity's $1 million donation to the American Cancer Society. Chris Mack, 9 seasons as the head coach at Xavier, went to the NCAA tournament the last 5 years, 4 Sweet 16s, and you guys have something in common.
Bald heads. Different color bald heads.
Cincinnati natives as well.
St. Xavier High School graduates, long blue line. Absolutely. Chris was a heck of a player back in his day.
Foul on Chukwu, and that's the second on the big man. So perhaps a Barama Sidibe appearance is imminent. Well, instead, it'll be Marek Dolezaj with Battle, the leading scorer at 17 a night, on the bench as well for a rest. Foul trouble, a bit of a problem for Battle as well against NC State. Picked up his 4th in the first 10 minutes of the second half. Not so today. Just getting a breather, and here's Dolezaj, native of Slovakia, at 6'10", $180, as Chukwu sits with 2 fouls. Enoch once a starter early in the season and now a bench player, but they like the spark that he brings them as a 6th man.
It's what they get at the position by committee between him and Williams, provide that scoring. Together, those guys average nearly 19 points, 11 boards per game. So it's not a matter of who starts it, but collaboratively, collectively, how they get it done.
Brissett drove laterally on Wara, who kept him out of the paint. Hughes tried it, and Brissett unable to tip it home. Syracuse 1 for 7 from the floor to go along with 3 turnovers.
It's a bad place to pick up the basketball. Wara's got to have a better awareness on the floor of where to pick up that dribble. You pick it up there, that's a bad spot. That double is coming at you. It's a tough place to find a receiver. Got to be aware of your spots going against this matchup zone.
Well, when you do it on the sideline or the baseline, you're also giving the defense a 3rd defender there. McMahon with the ball, their 2nd best 3-point shooter. Finds Sutton and a kick out for Cunningham, a very capable scorer, coming off an 18-point performance against Clemson on Saturday. Now more than 5 minutes without a made basket for Syracuse. And Hughes gets Wara with his first foul.
Hughes is a guy that struggled mightily versus North Carolina State. One of many guys who struggled in that one, and he's had a tough go of it his last 6 games. You know, averaging around 8 per game, shooting about 26% from 3. I'd like to see him attack this Louisville defense. Wara, as a defender, has some talent there, but I believe Hughes' physicality can overcome something like that when he's playing downhill.
His day against NC State wasn't the only one that was underwhelming offensively for Syracuse, because you had Battle, Hughes, and Brissett, their top 3 scorers, combined to score just 15 points, but they average collectively 44 a game.
And it's a team that doesn't score a lot. So when you complicate those offensive woes with the struggle of your stars, makes for a long, long 40 minutes.
There are a lot of decisions to be made from that 15-foot vantage point.
And it's just not a comfortable area. Sutton as a scorer, talented, but when you catch there, it's an uncomfortable space. Indecision was clear, led to the miss.
Dolezaj, equally indecisive, turns it over. Cunningham tries to shovel it off for Wara and travels.
Those are the opportunities you got to maximize if you're Louisville. You get that thing running with numbers. Cunningham, who's so good with the basketball, one of the best in conference with assist-to-turnover ratio. That's a poor decision. Come to a jump stop and find a spot-up shooter or the dump down.
He's the best in the ACC in conference play this year, 7 assists a game. Battle gets it going with the pull-up jumper to put the Cuse in front by 1.
Opportunistic, capitalizing off turnovers. That is paramount for Syracuse. Got to face the basket. Sutton didn't even look at the goal.
But Wara faded to the corner. He's missed on a couple good looks from 3. Battle just got his first 2 and shares for Dolezaj, turned away by the height of Enoch, but the big man is called for the foul, and Dolezaj is going to the line. 11:26 in the first, and this is an Infinity timeout for the win. Learn more at infinitytimeout.com. Hey Jordan, it's crunch time. It's brought to you by Cheez-It. Let's check out Syracuse's tournament resume. Currently a number 9 seed, one of 8 teams into the field per our own Joe Lunardi. Wins earlier in the season against Ohio State, Duke in conference play. Some troubling ones, Old Dominion notably, UConn and New York City. And the one head scratcher in conference play, Georgia Tech. You know, Louisville's got one like that too against Pittsburgh. But at 8 wins right now, number 44, ironically enough, Syracuse fans will know, in KenPom, they want to pick up at least 2 more wins to feel safe at that 10 plateau in conference play.
Yeah, that's a beautiful number in conference, especially in this conference, the ACC, which I would argue is the best in the country. However, they've got a brutal stretch. Still Duke, still Carolina, still Virginia. You've got Clemson left, who's questionably maybe a tournament team. You want to try and get one of these, and it starts with this one on your home floor.
Especially with Duke and Carolina waiting on the horizon. Wara in the lane. He is a 3-level scorer.
Very cerebral. A couple probing dribbles, see where he could go with it. But a confident move. You got to be confident the minute you come through those doors, get blown through those doors here at the Carrier Dome, because it's a different beast. Even Coach Mack, when he walked in, was taken aback by how different this place is. You got to be ready.
Nice shot fake there from Dolezaj to put it on the floor and then draw the foul. And now Wara's got 7.
Cerebral, probing, yet confident. Hits you with the floater. That's a score. Take what the defense gives you. He might have got away with a walk. Saw maybe a pass, and said, no, I'm going to score this.
Got a big contingent of family and friends here tonight, making the trip over from Buffalo to see him play just a couple hours away. Louisville hoping for a better scoring performance today than they had Saturday against the Tigers in that 1-point win. They put 56 on the board. Roger Ayers on the call. It stays here. That 56 from Louisville on Saturday, their lowest scoring total since March 1st of 16, 97 games. Looking for McMahon in the corner. Brissett disallowed that opportunity.
Dolezaj, 6'10", 180. I try and find a way to pin him down low, let my physicality overwhelm him. Williams has to be assertive down there, short corner.
Sutton turns to face the kick for Cunningham. And the 3 no good as the ball briefly rested on the rim. Battle had his eyes up. Nobody open ahead of him. And another miss from Hughes.
That's what this Louisville defense will do. Bait you to taking those threes. You're going to have to beat us from distance. Syracuse ain't doing it.
Now 1 for 6 from 3.
Got to run here. Syracuse has to run. Get some early offense. You're struggling with the jump shot. Beat that defense down the floor. Don't allow it to congeal. Your struggles are in the half court.
Well, midway through the first half. Oof. And it looks like first to 40 wins tonight. Offensive rebound gives way for a battle three-pointer. And he's forged his way into the top 20 of all-time scorers here at Syracuse, passing his assistant coach, Adrian Autry, tonight. McMahon too deep from 3. Dolezaj the foul as Williams went for the reverse lay-in. Friday night on ESPN, the NBA back in action, a doubleheader. The second half of the season gets going first at 7 Eastern. Spurs square off with the Raptors, and then the Jazz take on the Thunder. Both games on ESPN and the ESPN app, suitable for formal wear, casual wear, and wherever you go as well. You know, it was nice to see over the NBA All-Star break, as we were down in Miami, saw some guys around. Lonnie Walker of the Spurs was down at Miami last week. Louisville, Dan Goodell made an appearance as he's on a 2-way contract with Cleveland right now as well, going back and forth with their G League affiliate in Canton.
See if Syracuse gets back to the high ball screen to allow some angles and potential gaps rather than simply settle for contested jump shots.
Williams called for the foul. You know, it's interesting to watch Dolezaj as he walks onto the court. His size doesn't say, here's a guy who's going to make a big impact, but he does. They're drawing 2 fouls in the last couple minutes, and he's a capable driver as well.
He's got the waist size of a supermodel. They want him to be less tentative with the jump shot. They want him to hunt his shot. This is a guy who's coming off a season-high 10 points versus North Carolina State. He's a capable scorer when he wants to be aggressive. They're looking for more of that from the young man.
And I think he performed the most courageous feat of strength this year as well, willingly stepping in front of Zion Williamson to take a charge.
I watched that in horror.
5 to shoot, battle, curls, and flicks it short. Dolezaj fighting for the rebound on the ground. Jump ball, it belongs to Louisville, but the crowd and Dolezaj's teammates nevertheless appreciative of the effort.
You gotta love that kind of toughness. 50-50 basketballs, that can be the difference between a win or a loss, and he ain't giving that thing up even after the whistle. That's heart right there from the sophomore.
Louisville on the road for 3 of its final 5 games in a gauntlet stretch to finish out the regular season. Sutton no good. Williams went for it with the left hand, and Hughes pinballs it back to battle. Jordan, there haven't been a lot of shots for the Orange that have come quite too easily tonight.
Everything's been contested. There's that life. Comes battling on the backboard. Second chance opportunities for a struggling offense is big.
And Louisville, despite being down by 4, surprising that it's that close right now. 1 of 10 from 3 and shooting under 20%. Perry's pass tipped away, and it stays with the Cards down 4. The Orange, second effort, gets the job done.
You gotta love it from O'Shea Brissett right here. Carves out some real estate. A little tip at it, and at first you don't succeed, dust yourself off. Try again. The Orange coming alive.
And it'll be Maria and Dan Schulman and Jay Bellis on the call from Cameron Indoor. Duke, UNC, separated by a game in the ACC standings. And I'm not much for history when it comes to teams going way back, but you've got to love the fact that in the last 103 games, it has been a 3-point advantage total for Duke, which means you know that game is going to be good.
Yeah, you throw history out the door with these two teams, win streaks, how guys have fared against the other. That one is going to be quite the show. We got one that's heating up here, finding the rhythm as we go, though. So stay locked in, everybody.
She mentioned the ticket prices. I saw on Vivid Seats, you could go over $10,000 for the best seat in the house. Best shot in the house tonight has come from Buddy Boeheim, the head coach's son, to give Syracuse its largest advantage of the evening.
And Louisville is a team who's also struggling from distance, struggling to find their sweet spot in this zone. Syracuse starts to find their shot with the looks they're getting. They can build.
Boeheim takes it away. He's got a couple teammates flanking him to either side. Syracuse up by a touchdown as they play right near what's, in football season, the end zone in the Carrier Dome here. Dolezaj, the offensive rebound. Boeheim drives on Wara, and the pull-up, a shooter's touch. Jackson Thomas Boeheim making James Arthur Boeheim proud and giving his team a 21-12 advantage. McMahon looks for the answer. Doesn't have it. And the scrappy Dolezaj battles against Williams. 4-on-4. Hughes the pull-up. Got it. Timeout Louisville. Ten straight for Syracuse, Jordan. They're forcing takeaways.
They're forcing takeaways. They're playing very tough. Dolezaj getting on the floor to spark this offense going the other way. And if you're going to play off me, I'm going to bang down the three-point shot, and that's big for Hughes. Guy looking to get out of the slump.
Coming off a game where he shot just 2 for 10. Dolezaj helping spark the run. Despite having just 2 points, a hard-fought 3 rebounds. Louisville, slow to start. 3 for 20 from the floor and 1 for 12 from beyond the arc. They started with Sutton hanging around the free throw line. Now they move Wara inside.
Look how extended out that zone is.
They haven't had anything resembling a good look. Now with 8 on the shot clock, Wara drives and Dolezaj deters.
Dolezaj giving the Qs some very productive minutes. Loose balls defensively.
Boeheim back for battle. Good look from 3.
Dolezaj living on the floor trying to make something happen.
The slender Slovakian has been sliding all over the place tonight. 5 minutes in the first half. Syracuse doubling up Louisville.
Slender Slovakian. A little alliteration here on a Wednesday evening. What is it?
Travel. Probably one of the bigger Wednesdays of the night in college, or of the season in college basketball, with Duke and North Carolina to follow immediately after this game here on ESPN. Mike Cousins, Jordan Cornette with you from the Carrier Dome here in Syracuse, New York.
You know, as I'm watching, Mike, it's a Louisville team that plays hard. I don't think they're playing as hard because they're thinking the game so much right now, and that's an advantage Syracuse is always going to have, is they're going to make you play outside of what you typically do. You're out of a rhythm. You're trying to score from a mid-post area that guys don't typically score it from. And then you start getting inside your head, and then it impacts you in every part of the game.
Wara's got 7. He's their leading scorer. There goes Sutton, and he gets fouled, sandwiched between Dolezaj and Brissett. And the foul is on Dolezaj. Sutton 75% from the free throw line. He's played well the last 6 games, averaging 14 and 7. This summer, ESPN and the ACC will bring you the ACC Network in August. 15 universities, 1 network. Visit getaccn.com to learn more.
And no, they're not cheering because they're excited about the ACC Network, although I'm sure they are.
It's a concurrent applause.
It's Dolezaj walking to the bench. These are high IQ basketball fans here at Syracuse, and they recognize the lift he's given this team, allowing the Orange to build a lead.
Sutton helps, however small, to claw away at the orange advantage with 4 1/4 before halftime. Louisville eyeing its 10th ACC win. They played great competition this year. There's the bucket. 7 of the 8 losses for the Cardinals this year have been against top 25 teams. And on the other side, for Syracuse, all 4 of their ACC losses have not been close games. They've been by double digits, an average of 17 points a game. This so far has proved to be different, though.
Sutton, the last 2 sequences, has looked more comfortable in that mid-post area in terms of catching at the ACC logo and making a decision. 2 possessions ago, catch, head down, go to the rim. That time, square face, dump down for 2. He's starting to figure it out as this first half starts to come to a close.
Brissett's got it. He drives on Warren to score off the window. Cunningham turns it over. The plague that has stricken the Cardinals of giving it up has followed them here to Central New York. A drive and 2 more for Tyus Battle. Foul on Boeheim. Largest lead of the night for Syracuse. They've got Marek Dolezaj, all of 6'10", 180 to thank. He's been gritty tonight.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by USAA. Insurance, banking, and investments tailored for the military community.
For the Tar Heels as well, leading major conference teams in pace, transition points, and then we had a crash because they're #1 in second chance points as well.
Points, just keep saying points because there's going to be a whole lot of them in that game. It's going to be played at a feverish pace. It's going to be fun to watch.
Along with Jordan Cornette, Mike Cousins with you here for the start of our doubleheader. Syracuse and #18 Louisville inside the Carrier Dome.
You know, as I'm watching Louisville, they remind me of some of my close friends who are still single. And that probably sounds crazy, but the metaphor I'm about to make here, you'll know what I'm talking about. When you watch Louisville, they're too picky. They've got great opportunities in front of them, like my single friends, and they don't make that decision. This offense has shots that the matchup zone is giving them, but they're not pursuing them. They're going too deep in and making the wrong decision, and that's why they're still single, or in this case, not scoring points.
Well, at least you can't fault them for trying too hard in this case as they hit the breakaway and come down the floor, but come up empty again. Three-pointer, O'Shea Brissett. After scoring just 2 in the Oranges last game, Brissett now has 12.
It's been the defensive effort that has been the catalyst to get what can be a stagnant offense going for Syracuse. It's really fueling them.
Ball kicked by Chukwu. When the ball has gotten into that 15-foot spot, the free throw line there, whether it's been Sutton or Wara, has the decision-making been fast enough?
No, it hasn't. It's been a simple case of, as Enoch gets one, it's been a simple case of it's unnatural. You can't, and you hear this time and time again when you talk about a Syracuse opponent, you can't prepare for this until you get there on the court. So what's going to be most interesting to me for Louisville and the great Chris Mack, because he is one of the best coaches in this game, the adjustments they make at halftime now that they've seen it.
Sutton takes it away, jams it with 2, and the gap is now 12.
And I'll tell you, if you're a Louisville fan, there's no better guy to have on the sidelines than Coach Chris Mack in terms of adjustments to make it half, to get his guys more comfortable, and to exploit advantages in the half-court setting.
Jordan, I found that he handles it quite well. There's a timeout for Syracuse because they lost the Duke game. He comes out to the podium and he gives an opening statement. He says, all right, you know, somewhat tongue-in-cheek, I'll take your bullets now, your questions, because I know they're not going to be easy. After the Clemson game on Saturday where they nearly gave it away, they won by 1 point. He comes to the podium, he says, Louisville, it's been real. I'm retiring as head coach. And so the way he does that, though, is because he wants to show his team that if I can be calm in these situations, you can be as well. It's a month of February where they have 5 top 25 opponents, and it doesn't get any easier after this game.
Yeah, it goes back to, look, without question, we watched those prom night nerves from Louisville. But they got past it. They did beat Clemson on their home floor, and Clemson's a good basketball team. And why you saw Coach Mack handle it that way is quite simple. He understands he's their leader. He's got guys who are a little shaken with their confidence, and if he shows any sign of weakness, that compounds that shakiness, and that worry starts to build amongst the players. You look to your leader to provide stability. Coach Mack has given them that. They better turn it around here in the next 60 seconds.
Well, they've made their last 2 baskets. However, they've only made 4 total in the first half, so that was the lay-in by Enoch and the steal and dunk by Sutton, the first time they've made back-to-back field goals tonight.
And look, shots may be falling, but defensively, the effort's still got to be there. Pack line's got to protect the goal.
Battle a hard drive, doesn't get the foul, and it stays Syracuse ball, 10 to shoot.
Syracuse has been able to find great success playing downhill. Straight attack mode, line drives to the rim, being aggressive. And they continue that here on this possession to build even more momentum going into the half.
5 to shoot. Foul called on Battle. Dangerously walked away with a glare toward the official, A.J. Desai. And Jim Boeheim says, hey, let's sizzle that down a little bit.
Got a good thing going. And when you're on an island like this, then it becomes...
That was like an away from the basket hook and hold.
Both got locked up there. I think Battle's trying to plead the case that it was Cunningham locking him up.
So Battle charged for the personal. And it's Cunningham at the line. 76% for the grad transfer from Samford. The public administration major has been a huge boost to this team, one of their top 3 scorers. He gets them both. And it's conceivable that Louisville could go into halftime having made 6 field goals.
Well, how about the irony of this one? It'll be Louisville now in position going into the second half, trying to cut down a deficit. They're not playing with the lead this time. They have a chance to change the narrative. Can they be the comeback kids here? It starts with a stop before the break.
Hughes kept on the outside by Ford. Excellent defender. It's long to Boeheim, still 8 seconds. Now Hughes with 4. Straight away with a hand in his face. Ford didn't let him land, thus the foul and the upcoming 3 free throws.
Incredibly impressive how cool a customer, starting with Buddy Boeheim, understanding that yes, the clock's winding down, but still time to operate. A swing pass to Hughes. Hughes still comfortable, understanding clock as he gets a glimpse. Ford is a phenomenal defender. That's a big-time miscue.
Really, really good. He's locked down a lot of players. No space allowed. You think about the Duke game, R.J. Barrett. He gave him fits for the entire night.
A remarkable athlete. I mean, Ford's a guy who's averaging under 4 points per game. So you know why he's in there, as that versatile, aggressive defender that can mix it up. Look no further than the job he did on R.J. Barrett. Are you kidding me? Disruptive.
To lock down a lottery pick in the upcoming draft. A heave from half court is no good. Syracuse up by 12 at the break. They led by as many as 16, and it's been a bounce-back evening for Brissett. Already 10 more than he had last game against NC State.
Brissett key in that offense, giving this team confidence, aggressive, and knocking down perimeter shots. Music to Syracuse fans' ears.
Our halftime report coming up. Here's Reese Davis. Welcome back to ESPN's Rivalry Week, presented by Wendy's. Syracuse with the lead at the half. O'Shea Brissett on his way to perhaps his 4th double-double in the last 5 games. And on the other hand, Jordan Nwora, the leading scorer for the Cards on the season, pacing them right now, although an uncharacteristically low shooting percentage for the Cardinals in the first half. It's only the 4th time this year that they've made 1 3-pointer in the first half. They also did it last Saturday in the 1-point win against Clemson. So it's a double-digit deficit. Syracuse led by as many as 16 in the first half here at the Carrier Dome. Mike Cousins, Jordan Cornette. We saw a mix of a couple things. Good defense from the Orange, but Louisville just uncharacteristically bad shooting.
Yeah, they don't seem comfortable, Mike, against this matchup zone. That's always the theme when you talk about the opposition facing Syracuse. But as you see here, Warren catches, dribbles, and is unsure of the decision he wants to make there and ultimately travels. It's been an uncertainty with the ball. Cunningham picks it up, allows a double to come, finds a receiver ultimately in Williams. And look at Williams' head. Just down, not aware of any defense that ultimately gets a deflection. Then finally, I talked about being tentative and made the single metaphor. They're being too picky offensively, but they had a shot right there, passed it up. Those are the first looks you got to take. You got to be assertive. You got to be confident against the zone or it can eat you up.
Cardinals coming off of their lowest scoring game since late 2016 on Saturday with just 56 points. And even doubling their score would get them 10 short of that right now. Howard on the pull-up starts the half with a miss for Syracuse. Looking to get to 9-4 in the ACC. Cardinals at that mark right now.
And I talk about all this gloom and doom of Louisville, and yet they're only trailing by 12 with a full second stanza ahead. Can they make the necessary adjustments?
Four has 5 on the shot clock. Wara might have to be the one to shoot. A runner from 15 had too much on it. Offensive board, and the stick back Sutton fouled by Chukwu, who had 2 fouls and sat a good portion of the first half.
Sutton's tough. Sutton is bull. 6'5", plays like he's 6'10", just fighting amongst the trees, and those are things you got to do when it's not coming comfortably for your offense. You got to fight. You got to grind. You need the grit. Sutton's providing it here to start.
They say the foul's attributed to Brissett rather than Chukwu, so it's 2 on Brissett and 2 on Chukwu. Pitt head coach Jeff Capel made the comment earlier this season that Sutton could be looked at as the ultimate glue guy, which he clearly meant as a compliment, but I think that might be selling Sutton short of how good he is.
Absolutely, Mike. I mean, you look at Jordan Wara as the most improved in this conference, and that's a runaway. Well, if Wara never existed, that honor would go to Dwayne Sutton. I mean, the leaps and bounds he's made from sophomore to junior campaign, nothing short of remarkable either.
Ball tipped by 4. Battle saved it momentarily, and now 4 with the runaway. Look at him get up.
4 gives you an easy 2. That's a confidence boost. Louisville struggled in a half court. To see something like that go in, they say the dunk's only worth 2. It's got the bench up. It gives this Louisville team a little bit of bounce digging in here.
And they send a North Carolina-esque trap to the ball near midcourt. Wara with the deflection. It's the kind of defense Mack was hoping to see a lot more in the first 20 minutes. Battle spins, and Williams comes over to alter the shot. Shot clock violation, Louisville ball as they've scored 4 consecutive points to open the half and turn a 12-point gap into 8.
Vintage Quan 4 right here. Shooting the gap, sticking with it, and then punctuating the play in the open floor. And I'm telling you what, Mike, Chris Mack, this is the edge of a Chris Mack team you're seeing here in the first 2 minutes. He got into his guys at the half. He didn't like the effort. He fired them up, and you're seeing it here out of the gates. We got a game. This team looked flat. They don't right now.
Sutton's baseline feed, last touched by the Cardinals. To the disbelief of Chris Mack,
There's
who
that
says
fire.
He kicked it.
There's that fire from Coach Mack.
And he may have a point. That may have been off of the right foot of Brissett.
Absolutely it was. Dolezaj.
Dolezaj had the type of first half that gets rewarded by what the assistant coaches and managers are tracking on the bench, but not necessarily what shows up in the stat sheet. Nearly had an assist there to Brissett.
It's a great look. Good feel from Brissett, understanding the cut, make himself an available receiver, just couldn't handle it. And get another go.
The initial look was for Howard. He feeds Brissett well outside from the basket, but that's one of his strengths. One dribble into the lane and floated in.
a 5-inch advantage. Cunningham is the defender, the point guard at 6'2", going against 6'6". I'll go 6'6" every time.
That's 2 straight trips down the floor where Louisville has been looking for a post feed and giving it away.
Decision making, and this is a phenomenal decision. Look at isolated. It's man versus man, and I'll tell you what, size matters right there.
Howard, the last couple of possessions, was hunting a shot from the corner, bothered by Cunningham, who got a hand up in front of Brissett to force his miss. Yorns led by as many as 16 in the first 20 minutes. The gap now at 10.
It's a very important possession for Louisville to see how they're going to handle the matchup zone. I know there's 17-something minutes left in this game, but yet still, have they found a solution against this zone defense?
Multiple times they've gone deep into the shot clock. That's a shot that falls often for Cunningham, but with a fresh 30 seconds, chance to review their options. Sutton splits the trap, and 4 resets.
They are playing real tight tonight and allow that entry pass to Sutton at the logo.
And a shot well wide from Wara, who turns to the official Bert Smith to claim that it got tipped.
Louisville needs to make decisions quicker. It's as simple as that. Sutton nearly traveled, got away with one, but allowed the double to attract defensively because he held the basketball too long.
And Jordan, on that last possession, they got the offensive rebound, went from 30 to 15 seconds on the shot clock, and didn't have a single look at the basket.
Yeah, this is a time test. And the clock's ticking. You got to make the right decision, and you got to do it swiftly.
They're 1 for 15 from 3. A few more buckets, it'll be a very different game. Dolezaj stepping back, gets himself in a fight for the loose ball, jump ball, and he does it again.
Squirrely Dolezaj, a squirrely Dolezaj.
That's a printing press for Holy Shirt, the local company owned by a Syracuse alum, John Grote, and they're putting out shirts that's going to try to break the attendance record. Those shirts for the game against Duke on Saturday, try and shatter the attendance record. They don't know what the number will be, but they do know that it will be at least 8 more than what the prior mark was. You see those 4 seats to the right of the Syracuse bench, the 4 seats on that side of the scorer's table, and the 4 seats on the other side of the scorer's table by the visitors bench are now up for sale. Battle with the steal, and he scores. So it'll be College game day back here at the Carrier Dome. And of course, Duke plays right after the conclusion of this game against North Carolina at Cameron Indoor for the first of 2 matchups between the Tar Heels and the Blue Devils this season.
Battle Zion-esque in the way he got that passing lane. A little conversion for 2 on the other end. Something's out of place. Something does not feel comfortable in that spot. I'd be curious to see if maybe a Wara adjustment there may provide a better result, because Sutton he's not comfortable.
There's Battle, who threw it before Hughes was ready. Credit to Jordan Wara, who's done a good job, whether it's been on Battle or Hughes, from the perimeter to keep those guys from getting to the basket.
Absolutely, and on the other end, Hughes, that's all day. Just a bunny became a bear there on the low block, but Cunningham is a post defender. You got to take advantage of that and exploit it.
Mack's not gone exceptionally deep on the bench tonight. Syracuse never does. B.J. King, Perry, Enoch, and McMahon played the most minutes off the bench in the first half, to 13 of 20. Cunningham forced Battle to rethink. Boeheim lowers the shoulder into McMahon, and it's foul number 3 on the freshman Boeheim.
You think they like that call here? Chorus of boos. Very audible. Hey, he lowered the boom. Felt to me like McMahon had made him meet the chest.
The offensive player can't displace a defender who's got legal guarding position.
And that's exactly what we saw happen. That was a clear, distinct violation. Sutton,
15-footer. You wonder if they put Wara back in that spot after a couple of misses. Battle spins and fouled by McMahon on the way out.
Syracuse doing a sublime job of exploiting matchup opportunities. Quite simply mismatches. It's been either Cunningham or it's been McMahon. When you got Battle as an offensive operator who's a cool customer in that position going against McMahon as a defender, once again, that favors Syracuse, and you see points get put up on the board. 6'6" versus 6 foot. Again, physicality and the height, it's overwhelming.
Sutton sits, and Perry, the sophomore guard, is back in. Last 6 points have been scored by Syracuse. Louisville almost 5 minutes without a point, and McMahon's miss extends that streak. Here we are almost to the midway point of the second half. The Cardinals yet to eclipse 30, and Syracuse hits 44. On the lob, Enoch nearly posterized Dolezaj. Couldn't put it through, though. And the oasis of scoring, or the desert of scoring, now has an oasis inside. Third on Dolezaj. It's about as loud as the crowd has been in the Dome tonight.
Those are the famous words of Rasheed Wallace. Ball don't lie. An ACC matchup, you gotta reference an ACC great, right? Fans don't like it. And the one place you don't want to make a questionable call is in a Carrier Dome amongst thousands, because they're gonna let you hear it.
Timeout Louisville, 44-28. Work to do for the number 18 team in the country. Coming up next here on ESPN, a Sonic blockbuster to finish off our doubleheader. North Carolina against top-ranked Duke. The last 103 times they've met, just a 3-point difference in favor of Duke. And let's take a look at the ACC players in our Wendy's Wooden Watch. Nickeil Alexander-Walker for the Virginia Tech Hokies. They will need Justin Robinson back, and we'll see R.J. Barrett and Zion Williamson for Duke in the next game. Here comes the pressure from Louisville as they trail 44-28, get the turnover they need, and the travel is called on Wara. Trampoline stepped his way across the restricted arc.
And I don't think it was necessary from Wara. I think he had that path where he could have he had the defender on his hip. Yeah, at that point, power up. Go strong, put the pressure on the officials to blow the whistle. Paralysis by analysis.
The Cards now have to hope that they can do to their opponents here tonight what Duke and what Clemson have borne on them over the last couple of games.
What a story it would be. Trailing by 16 to be able to turn it on with full court pressure. That's a way to eliminate the narrative that's been trailing them for these last few games. To be the comeback kids. Got to generate some offense, though, to set that full court defense. Misses aren't going to allow it.
Here's Perry, who heaves a three. Whether it's been Wara, McMahon, or anybody else tonight from deep, the only one to hit is Wara. 1 for 17.
And you know, the unfortunate side for Louisville is you had the Duke, the demise versus Duke. And that's a story that's trailed them, but you haven't had comfortable games to get back into rhythm after. Clemson is a gritty team that forces you to score low, and now this matchup zone, so you haven't been able to get comfortable since that Duke game. And that's what's tough about this for Louisville, who's looking to regain confidence.
The Cards 9-4 in the ACC, tied for 4th with Florida State, which has been a resurgent club as of late on a great winning streak, and Syracuse 8-4 in the league. Starting tonight, a stretch of 4 top 20 opponents in their next 5 games as they sit 6th in the league.
Now this unit for Syracuse doesn't have incredible height in terms of 7-footers on the floor currently. Now, yes, Dolezaj 6'10", but a thin frame. It's the fact that everybody offensively has size to them, and they're able to take advantage offensively with those mismatches, and most notably, it's been Brissett.
Brissett, the game's leading scorer with 14, Battle with 11, and Hughes, a resurgent performance with 10. Through the lane, ball tipped, and the foul is on Darius Perry of Louisville. Dolezaj nearly gave it up. Perry kicks it. Jim Boeheim has decided to forego the sport coat now.
A miscue there from Dolezaj, but as you look back where we stand at this moment in the game, got to give a lot of credit to Dolezaj and his effort. It was the spark for Syracuse to get them going.
The possession arrow fell off the scorer's table, still intact there. So it makes me rule out perhaps that it's made of glass.
So they lost possession of the possession arrow. Remarkable.
I appreciate you listening to me. Something many won't do. Hughes for 3. Largest lead of the night for Syracuse. There's the attack at the basket the Cardinals would like to see a little bit more of. They make life difficult for Battle, and Boeheim is fouled. 11:44 to go. Syracuse up by 17. That'll be fun tonight. Zion, RJ, Cam Reddish, 1, 2, and 4. ESPN's NBA prospect rankings as they take on the Tar Heels for the first of 2 matchups in the regular season. Duke leads UNC and Virginia by a game in the ACC standings, trying to get their first regular season title in 8 seasons.
It's a favorable matchup once again. Cunningham victorious.
He kicks. McMahon for 3. Splashes it home. Second made triple of the night for Louisville in 18 tries. Wara and McMahon each with 1. There's Battle to the basket. Denied. Out of bounds and going the other way.
There is time left for a Louisville comeback, and if anybody knows that, it's those watching from Louisville right now. So this team's seen it happen to themselves. They know it's capable of occurring. It starts with McMahon knocking down threes like that and digging in defensively to try and force some turnovers themselves.
There's Wara at the free throw line. They've switched him and Sutton out.
Now it's a miss, but that was a comfortable miss. Wara is comfortable operating there. I think it should be Wara for the remainder of this second stanza.
And if there's anybody who you want taking crunch time shots, that's the guy. The extra pass to Boeheim.
Got to run. Beat that zone down the floor.
Wara faded to the corner. He was open. They just didn't look his way. 1 shot, and the possession's over for the Cards.
You're okay with that shot from McMahon. And that's what he does. He's a sharpshooter. He's a specialist. It's a great equalizer in the game. 3-point shot. Can they get it going?
Boeheim tries a 3 opposite wing. Gets it this time. Buddy Boeheim's got 8. The challenge now comes for Louisville. For every good possession they have at this end of the floor, they have to match it with another one at the opposite end. You know, their goal defensively, 7 kills a game. That's 3 straight stops. And they'll need a handful of those down the stretch. Dolezaj, the foul is his 4th.
called for a more assertive Dolezaj to give Syracuse that lift that they need. He provided it. When you go back and look at this tape, it's not going to be the stat sheet that jumps out at you. As you listen to this crowd, they appreciate it.
He might have gotten the 2 loudest ovations in this game.
For a guy nowhere close to double figures. Speaks to the performance and impact he's having.
Battle slows the pace. Brissett calling for it. He had a mismatch. He shed McMahon to the floor. Battle drives and misses with the left. Long rebound for Wara. Through Hughes, on the way up, rejected by Chukwu. It's a 4-on-2 Syracuse. Hughes had it knocked by 4. A couple of discombobulated possessions on both ends. No points to show for it.
Syracuse is absorbing a punch, aren't they?
Loose ball. Boeheim had his hands on it. Now McMahon dives. A stretching Chukwu. Jump ball to call. It stays with the Orange as both teams are blasting body blows at one another.
This is fun to watch. Blue collar, put your hard hat on, go to work. I love this stuff.
You know, the logo on the floor has changed from Big East to ACC, but doesn't this physicality remind you of the league you played in?
That's exactly what it reminds me of. But Syracuse, that's in their DNA. Coach Mack-led teams, that's in their DNA. It's coming to a head on this floor this evening.
Boeheim curls into the three-pointer. Got it again. His 3rd triple. He's 3 of 6 from deep. And he sparks Syracuse onto a 53-35 advantage. Wara can't shoot over Chukwu, so he backs out of the lane. Cunningham a contested 3. And Hughes rips it down. Another try. This time short. But Boeheim has the green light when he's on the floor.
Yeah, that's the heat check.
So does Williams. Soft touch for the big man. That's one area where teams can't be fooled by the 5s that are on the floor for Louisville. Both can shoot 3s.
You got to generate some turnovers here.
Instead, a wide open look for Hughes, and he cashes it in.
I think you got to get a timeout here.
And there it is.
Syracuse in cruise control, but it's the little things that make the difference. Check out number 11, O'Shea Brissett, motioning for the screen. He gets it, but in the untraditional way, sticks the hiney out to block McMahon, allows my buddy, wherever he goes, Buddy Boeheim from distance. It's the little things that open up the play for the shooter to get a look and do what he does. It's all coming together for Syracuse here at the Dome.
What would you call that screen? Bottom block, the rump recline? Where are you going with that?
I like both of those. Those work.
An unconventional way to stave off the opposition. So the Orange by 18 as they've shot exceptional from three-point range today. 10 for 26. Sutton tries his hand. Card's not in his favor. It's out of bounds, stays here. Oh, vast improvement from last Wednesday's three-point shooting performance from Syracuse. Frank Howard went 5 of 11. The rest of the squad was 0 for 14. Boeheim himself is 3 for 7.
If Syracuse can hold on, this will be as big a win as the Duke win for them. And people are going to say that's crazy. It was Duke.
I would initially. I'm waiting. I'm awaiting your explanation.
I get all that. But the fact with what lies ahead you're going to look at this and say this was a turning point for Syracuse to be a tournament team or not a tournament team because of where potentially could have gone after this. This is a set the tone for what's coming, the gauntlet ahead. And this is a big-time boost. Coach Boeheim's delivering, and so are his players at a critical time in the season.
How about the body control from Brissett to hold his position, not drag the pivot foot, and still finish?
It's a confident bunch offensively. Duke is winning at Duke. I can already hear Twitter going crazy. I'm just saying, you beat Louisville here, and you know you're not watching on Selection Sunday. That's huge. That cannot be understated for Syracuse basketball.
That miss for Louisville by Akoy Agal into the game to play the forward spot.
I tell you, there's nothing worse than having to watch on Selection Sunday because you didn't do enough. I've been on the right side of that. I've been on the wrong side of that. And let's just say those sleepless nights are because of the latter. As for Louisville, it's a Louisville team that hit a wall in February. And it's not because of the Duke loss. It's not a mental thing that's in their head. These have been two tough performances in terms of matchups. Little showtime at the end.
Well, Battle disappointed that the foul preceded his pass ahead to Brissett.
Call that putting some sauce on it, Mike. Put some sauce on a burger. Forget the whistle. We're still playing. Just like on the playground back in the days, you put some sauce on it. So much sauce, we're not going to show it to you.
It's too hot.
There it is. Spicy.
It's beyond ghost pepper hot.
Gotta love it. O'Shea getting the crowd and off there. Heine standing up.
Yeah, on what's an unseasonably warm night in central New York at 37 here in late February.
But yeah, going back to Louisville, they were able to get by Clemson, and that's a win that should be respected because Clemson's fighting for tournament hopes. Syracuse in this zone has just been problematic for them on this stage. And what is an unusual one? Having played here 3-4 times in my career, it's different than most collegiate gym setups. When you talk about going into the NCAA tournament, you talk about, that dome impact. Well, that's a regular season game here in Syracuse, New York at the Carrier Dome, and it's a major adjustment for an opponent coming in. Louisville looked uncomfortable from the start and hasn't found their footing, and that's been the difference offensively. Finding out ways to generate offense, and they were never comfortable in that mid-post area at the ACC logo where you have to be.
Still 5 minutes to go, and you mentioned that Clemson game, a one-point win on Saturday at the Yum Center in Louisville. Clemson's a team, there's a foul, sends it the other way, that just went from being in the field to now being out of the field, one of the first four out for Joe Lunardi. So you went from 9 teams to 8 teams, still tied for the league among all conferences with the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and SEC, combining for 32 teams in the field right now.
And it speaks to how there are no days off in this ACC. Anybody can get it.
Especially with the potential for a couple #1 seeds. Boeheim says, why not? Now McMahon will do the same. And finally gets the 3 to rattle through. So McMahon now has 6, coming on 2 made threes. Brissett ahead of the pack. Dolezaj tries his hand. He is fearless. He's going to go to the free throw line. And we should give a collective round of applause to Manny Machado for not only getting $300 million, but also doing it in the best climate in America.
Enjoy those California taxes with all that money, my friend. I'm just glad it's over. Maybe the rest of these free agents in baseball can find a home. Free agency in baseball is wacky.
An interesting offseason and an interesting night for Louisville. So has faced a double-digit deficit most of this night, shooting well below their season averages. And Perry airballs the 3 to add insult to injury, as Louisville is now 4 of 25 from deep. Lowest they'd scored in almost 3 years was on Saturday, the 56 against Clemson. And right now, tracking to fall short of that number. It's been a very minimal helping of Stephen Enoch in the post here in the second half for the Cards. See Akoya Gal only averages about 6 minutes a game in there, as Malik Williams is on the bench, and now 3:16 to go. And VJ King is into the game as well. A former McDonald's All-American, King. Now he goes back to the bench. Been used sparingly this year. Has been really like the 9th man on the roster for them. Dolezaj secures in the front court, gives it up to Brissett. And the name of the game here is to wind down the clock as much as possible for the Orange. Brissett had it stripped. Syracuse keeps it.
You know, if you're a Louisville fan, you're going to put this one in the rear view, and you got to look towards a Virginia matchup coming this weekend on your home floor. That could be where the tide turns and you truly put all this behind you and then prepare for March, because I'm telling you, with what Louisville has and when they're playing at their best, this is as good a team in the country as there is. They can compete with anybody.
Basket and one for Dolezaj.
Coming out party of sorts for Dolezaj, who's now putting together 2 consecutive impressive performances. I'm giving him arguably the game ball for what he's done this evening for the Qs. I mean, you talk about you want the young man to be more assertive. He was absolutely that with 50-50 basketballs. He was that defensively. He was that on the backboard. And he's giving you some aggressive offense as well. A big-time building block in terms of trajectory for where he can go.
And a bad sign for Louisville to see Jordan Wara, their leading scorer, limping off to the bench. Although the game may be out of reach, there's still lots of promise left in the season for the number 18 team in the country. And you hope whatever it is, it doesn't ail him for all too long.
I mean, you're talking about a Louisville team that a week ago was up 23 on Duke. They're that kind of good. They've hit what is a February wall, having played this game. There's points where you just have some flat performances, and you hope you get those out of your system by the time you get to March. Don't get too down on this Louisville team. You've seen what Chris Mack can do as an 11 seed with Xavier. I'm not counting Louisville out. You'd be crazy to do the same.
It's the race for the number 4 spot in the league that's very intriguing. Louisville entered tonight tied for 4th with Florida State. You'll have Syracuse at 9-4 with a win tonight in the league. And you get a nice reward by finishing in the top 4. You get to watch a couple days of the ACC tournament this year, shifting from Brooklyn to Charlotte, North Carolina. Boeheim's had the hot hand all night. His 5th three-pointer of the evening.
Masterful stuff from the Orange and the legendary Coach Boeheim.
Beg your pardon, his 4th three of the night.
I thought you were shouting out Craig's 4th when you said 4th. I thought you said 4th.
That's a good callback.
Throwing out a national champion. Shout out to Mr. 4th. Played against him back in the day.
And Jordan, we've got a lot to look forward to as basketball fans tonight. Fewer than 10 minutes to play as Zion Williamson will lead Duke against North Carolina. Number 1 draft prospect in ESPN's NBA draft rankings. He's got, along with him, R.J. Barrett, the ACC's leading scorer. UNC, Duke, 1 and 2 among major conference teams in points per game.
Here it is, a little something to chew on as we go into that game. Is a big hand. Take a listen to the appreciation. Syracuse fans very appreciative of what they saw, but going back to Duke, Carolina, it's going to come down to the trenches. Carolina doesn't have that front line defensively and as tough as they typically have, and Duke scores that thing in the post. And by the post, I mean the paint. driving, playing downhill. They get a lot of points inside there. Can they be dominant scoring at the rim, or will Carolina bring a toughness to protect the rim? It's where the game's going to be won.
Blue Devils are on pace to score the most points in the paint by a major conference team in the last 8 years.
That's
and there's
concerning.
Jordan Nwora with ice.
Hopefully just preventative. You don't want a guy like that, as important as he is, to be anything but just taking care of himself.
4 launches and hits. Too little, too late for Louisville. Well, neither team can sit back and rest easy given the opposition that awaits. Syracuse will try and set college basketball's all-time attendance record for a single game on Saturday here against Duke, the site of College Game Day. And awaiting Louisville is Virginia.
Nothing like having momentum with Duke coming to your house. You got to get things in order in your house before you're ready to move forward. Syracuse has done absolutely that here. Very impressive stuff. That week off did wonders for these guys, and I'm juiced to see what they can do against Duke. With defensive effort like this, it's going to be a game.
Robert Braswell, the freshman from Florida, gets just his second basket, or second and third points in the last 2 games.
Louisville's got to get right. Louisville's got to get right. Virginia's a big opportunity on Saturday. They've got the talent. We've seen them build a lead to 23 versus Duke. They're that kind of good. They got to turn it around.
And that does it from Syracuse. The Orange winners over the number 18 team in the country by 20. They bounce back and send Louisville to yet another painful defeat. Final score 69-49 and a game high 18 for Elijah Hughes. Coming up next, UNC